power, influence, and a bank account that could make billionaires jealous. Yeah, we're diving into the world of U.S. presidents. But not just their politics, we're talking straight-up cash. Who was rolling in the most dough while running the country? You're about to find out, and trust me, some of these stories are absolutely jaw-dropping. Being President of the United States isn't just about passing laws or giving speeches. Some of these guys were straight-up cash kings, living lifestyles most Americans could only dream about. From massive land empires and smart investments to full-blown business ventures, the wealthiest presidents stacked fortunes that rival today's richest celebrities. But who really owned the crown? Buckle up, because this isn't your boring history lesson. It's a wild ride through luxury mansions, private yachts, and jaw-dropping bank accounts. 1. George Washington, the original wealth flex. George Washington wasn't just the guy chopping down cherry trees. Yeah, that myth lives on. He was a savvy landowner, farmer, and investor. By the time he passed away in 1799, Washington had racked up about $500,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's a staggering over $600 million today. His fortune came mostly from land, tons of it. Washington owned plantations, farmland, and rental properties, including the legendary Mount Vernon estate. Plus, he invested in businesses and even tried his hand at whiskey production. He was basically a one-man economic powerhouse. But here's the kicker. He didn't exploit the presidency to make more money. That wealth? Mostly smart personal investments. Washington's story also shows the value of diversification. While other leaders relied solely on inheritance or a single source of income, he spread his wealth across multiple ventures, creating a financial empire in the 18th century. Imagine running a brand new country with that kind of cash. Washington set the gold standard, showing that power and wealth could coexist without breaking the law. 2. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson is famous for writing the Declaration of Independence and creating the University of Virginia. But he was also loaded, at least on paper. At his death, Jefferson's net worth was around $212 million in today's money. His wealth came from plantations, property, and smart investments. Monticello, his iconic estate, wasn't just a home, it was a symbol of wealth, sophistication, and taste. Jefferson's property holdings included thousands of acres and hundreds of enslaved people, a reminder of the complex and uncomfortable realities of his era. But here's the twist. Jefferson wasn't great at managing money. He died deep in debt, showing that even visionaries can struggle to turn assets into cash flow. The irony? The man who championed liberty was chained by finances. His story is a masterclass in wealth management for anyone dreaming of mixing influence and money. Jefferson also loved collecting rare books, art, and scientific instruments, proving that wealth wasn't just about money. It was about status, culture, and influence. 3. James Madison. James Madison might have been the shortest president at 5 feet 4 inches, but he had a respectable fortune. His net worth at death? Around $101 million today. Not bad for a guy often overshadowed by history's bigger names. Madison's wealth came mainly from his Virginia estate, Montpelier, and slave labor, a common practice in his era. He was also clever with land investments, helping him maintain elite status. Interestingly, Madison didn't flaunt his money. He was a scholar, thinker, and politician who let his ideas shine. His story shows that sometimes the richest people aren't the loudest in the room. He also loved keeping detailed records and managing his estate meticulously, which shows that wealth isn't just inherited. It's also about planning and foresight. Madison's approach reminds us that true influence often comes quietly, behind the scenes. 4. Andrew Jackson. From poverty to plantation power. Andrew Jackson had one of the most dramatic financial journeys in presidential history. Born into poverty, he fought his way to wealth through land speculation, plantations, and controversially, the ownership of slaves. By the time Jackson became president, he was worth about $119 million today. His plantation, the Hermitage, was a sprawling estate filled with crops, livestock, and luxury living quarters. Jackson's wealth is a mix of grit, ambition, and the harsh realities of his time. Jackson's journey is wild. He went from rags to riches, embodying the American dream, but with a ruthless edge. He wasn't afraid to take risks, and his aggressive investments paid off big time. Jackson also had a flair for political showmanship, using his image as a self-made man to gain influence. He proved that in America, wealth and charisma often go hand in hand. 5. Theodore Roosevelt, the Rough Rider with a rich side. Teddy Roosevelt is remembered for his Rough Riders and charging up San Juan Hill. But he also came from a wealthy family and inherited a fortune. Roosevelt's net worth? Around $125 million today. His wealth allowed him to fuel his passions, from hunting expeditions to exploring the Amazon. Unlike some presidents, Roosevelt used his money to enhance his adventures and impact, not just to maintain status. He proved that wealth could amplify influence, letting him push progressive reforms while living life like a true millionaire adventurer. Teddy also used his fortune to fund conservation efforts, creating national parks and protected lands, showing that money can be a tool for legacy as well as lifestyle. 6. Herbert Hoover, the millionaire engineer. Herbert Hoover was a rare self-made millionaire before ever stepping foot in the White House. He earned his fortune as a mining engineer, consultant, and businessman, working all over the globe. By the time he became president, Hoover's net worth was around $75 million today. Unlike others who inherited wealth, Hoover built his fortune through hard work and global investments. Unfortunately, his presidency coincided with the Great Depression, meaning money couldn't protect him from scrutiny. Still, Hoover's story proves that brains plus business savvy can pay off big. Hoover also donated generously after leaving office, showing that wealth can be leveraged for public good, not just personal gain. 7. Lyndon B. Johnson. LBJ was a master politician and a master of deals. He came from humble beginnings, but left office worth about $109 million today, mainly from land investments and clever real estate. Johnson's wealth was tied to Texas, where he owned massive ranches, hunting grounds, and properties. He had a knack for turning political influence into profitable investments, walking the fine line between public service and personal gain. LBJ's story is proof that money and power often walk hand in hand, especially when you know how to play the game. Johnson also loved entertaining political allies at his ranches, showing that wealth isn't just numbers, it's a tool for influence and persuasion. 8. John F. Kennedy. You can't talk about wealthy presidents without mentioning JFK. The Kennedy family was the ultimate American dynasty, and John inherited a fortune most could only dream about. His net worth? Around $100 million today. But with the family empire, connections, and charisma, it felt much bigger. JFK's wealth wasn't just cash, it was about image, influence, and legacy. From luxurious yachts to exclusive parties, Kennedy lived the high life while navigating the most intense political stage on Earth. Even today, JFK's image as a glamorous, rich president is legendary. Part charm, part strategy, part old-school American elitism. Kennedy also used his wealth to fund public projects and media influence, showing that money isn't just for comfort, it's a tool for shaping culture and politics. 9. Donald J. Trump, the business tycoon turned president. Now, the guy who turned his name into a brand, Donald Trump. Unlike most presidents, Trump entered office as a bona fide billionaire, thanks to decades of real estate deals, casinos, and brand licensing. Trump's net worth is estimated around $2.5 billion today, dwarfing everyone else on this list. His wealth let him campaign differently, projecting himself as a self-made mogul who could run the country like a business. Love him or hate him, Trump proves that in modern politics, money can amplify influence like never before. Trump also leveraged media, branding, and personal notoriety, showing that in the 21st century, wealth, fame, and politics are deeply intertwined. 10. The final verdict. Who takes the crown? Adjusted for inflation, the richest president in U.S. history is George Washington. Land, investments, and sheer strategy gave him a fortune that would make today's billionaires look like small-time players. But if we're talking actual dollars while in office, Donald Trump sits at the top. A billionaire president is practically a modern phenomenon, blending politics, media, and massive personal wealth in ways 18th century landowners couldn't imagine. Each of these presidents shows a different side of wealth in America. Inheritance, self-made fortunes, or clever investments. Some used it quietly, some flaunted it, and some struggled despite it. The lesson? Power and money have always been linked, shaping the stories of America's leaders in ways textbooks barely capture. Every president we covered had a unique relationship with money, shaping their decisions, lifestyles, and legacies. From George Washington's land empire to Trump's billionaire branding, these leaders show that wealth isn't just comfort, it's a tool, a weapon, and sometimes a burden. If you found this journey through presidential fortunes as wild as I did, hit that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping stories about the people who shaped America and the massive cash they held in their pockets.